Have you ever stopped and wondered if everything you believe about life is just a story you've been telling yourself? We live as though the world is a solid, unchanging thing, a place where rules are fixed and outcomes are predictable. We wake up, go through our routines, pay bills, chase promotions, and hope that one day everything will make sense. But here's the truth. Reality is not what you think. What you consider real is only a perspective shaped by habit, culture, and fear. It's a map, not the territory. Most people spend their lives clinging to a version of reality that feels safe, measurable, and logical. You've been trained to believe in cause and effect, in plans and guarantees, in success and failure. But life, real, vibrant, breathing life, is far stranger than that. Imagine the world not as a static machine, but as a living symphony, where every moment is improvisation. Every encounter is part of a melody you can't yet hear. Once you grasp this, you realize that all the stress, anxiety, and pressure you feel is born from trying to live inside a rigid box that was never meant to hold you. Here's a radical thought. The world you see is filtered through your mind. Your perceptions, beliefs, and assumptions color everything you experience. Two people can witness the same sunset, but one sees beauty and wonder, while the other sees only fading light and the reminder of another day gone. The truth isn't in the sun, sits in the lens through which you view it. Your reality is created as much by your consciousness as it is by the world outside. And this is liberating. It means you can change the way you experience life simply by changing the way you think, feel, and perceive. Now, this isn't a call to deny the practicalities of life. Bills must be paid, families cared for, responsibilities met. But what if you realized that beneath the obligations and structures lies a deeper, flower current of life that is constantly moving, adapting, and alive? The moment you stop treating reality as a rigid problem to solve, you start to notice patterns, synchronicities, and opportunities that were invisible before. You begin to dance with life instead of fighting it. So today, pause. Ask yourself, what parts of my life are based on stories I've accepted without questioning? What truths have I assumed, and what might happen if I let go of them? The answers won't come from logic or planning. They will come from experience, from paying attention, and from being fully present. Because the first step to awakening is seeing that what you've been calling reality is only one way of seeing. And when you understand that reality is not fixed, not limited, not what you've been told, the entire world becomes a playground of possibility. Every moment holds potential, every encounter a lesson, and every challenge a chance to expand beyond the box you thought defined you. Remember, reality isn't something out there to be conquered. It is something to be experienced, to be danced with, to be lived. And the moment you see this, the moment you let go of the rigid story, you open the door to a life far richer, freer, and more alive than you ever imagined. We spend a lifetime believing that control is the path to safety. We plan, strategize, and map out our futures as if life were a train on a fixed track. We tell ourselves that if we work harder, save more, and anticipate every twist, we can bend reality to our will. But here's a truth most of us resist. Control is an illusion. The harder you try to hold on to it, the more it slips through your fingers. Life cannot be captured, managed, or tamed. It flows. Think about it. How many times in your life have you meticulously planned something only to have it veer completely off course? A sudden illness, a lost opportunity, a market crash, or a relationship you thought was secure can turn your perfect plan upside down in an instant. And yet, we keep trying. We keep building walls around ourselves, as if a thicker wall could keep the uncertainty out. But uncertainty isn't the enemy, is life itself. The moment you accept that control is an illusion, you begin to see freedom. You stop fighting the current and start learning to ride it. This doesn't mean giving up responsibility. Responsibility is about choosing how you respond to life, not dictating life itself. You can still work hard, set goals, and make choices, but the outcome is never guaranteed. That's the beauty of it. The unpredictability of life is what gives it richness, excitement, and meaning. The secret is to focus on your influence, your attention, and your intentions. Instead of trying to micromanage everything, most people are trapped in the myth of control because it promises security. We equate control with certainty and certainty with peace, but peace is not found in controlling life. It's found in aligning with life. Imagine standing in a river, trying to stop the water with your hands. The more you push, the more it flows around and past you. But if you let go and float, you realize the river can carry you to places you never imagined. And the journey itself becomes part of the adventure. Embracing the illusion of control requires courage. It asks you to let go of fear, to release the need to predict, and to trust the flow. And when you do, you discover a paradox. By relinquishing control, you gain a deeper sense of power. Not power over life, but power within life. Ability to respond creatively, to adapt, and to find joy in the moment. Ask yourself today, what am I trying to control that is impossible to hold? What would happen if I let go, even just a little? In that surrender, life becomes lighter, freer, and infinitely more expansive. The anxiety, the tension, the relentless effort to micromanage everything, it all begins to dissolve. Control is seductive because it makes us feel safe, but safety is never found in control. It is found in presence, awareness, and trust. Life is not something to manage, it's something to participate in. And the sooner you stop resisting the flow, the sooner you will experience the incredible freedom that comes from dancing with life instead of trying to cage it. Look around. How often do we measure life in clocks, calendars, deadlines, and schedules? From the moment we wake up to the moment we sleep, we are prisoners of time, convinced that life is a linear march from birth to death. But what if I told you that this whole framework, this ticking, counting, measuring is an illusion? Time is not a cage. It is a concept created by the mind to make sense of an experience that is fundamentally limitless. We live in a society obsessed with when will I retire? When will I achieve success? When will I feel fulfilled? This obsession keeps us constantly chasing the future while missing the only moment that actually exists now. The irony is profound. We trade our present for a future that is never guaranteed. Yet, most of us never pause to consider that the present, the moment you are experiencing right now, is the only reality you truly inhabit. Think about it. A memory is not happening anymore. A plan is not happening yet. Only this breath, this heartbeat, this thought, this sensation, this is real. Time as we know it is a useful tool, but it can easily become a prison. We measure life in milestones, thinking that happiness or success is somewhere up ahead. And while planning has its place, it can blind us to the richness of the now. Every moment holds infinite depth if we only allow ourselves to be present. Consider the concept of past and future. The past exists only as a story we tell ourselves. It is memory filtered through emotion and interpretation. The future is a projection, a hypothesis that may or may not occur. Both are constructs of the mind. Life is not found in memories or predictions. It is found in experience, in sensation, in the act of being alive in this very instant. Once you internalize this truth, the anxiety and pressure caused by deadlines and expectations begin to fade. Here's a radical shift. Instead of seeing time as a strict sequence of events you must conquer, see it as a canvas for experience. Life unfolds like a river, each moment flowing into the next, each second containing its own beauty, its own lesson. When you embrace this, you stop rushing, stop obsessing, stop measuring yourself against arbitrary milestones. You realize that the richness of life cannot be quantified, can only be experienced. This is especially important for those of us past 35, who have lived enough to see the fleeting nature of moments. We start to understand that life is not a race to a finish line, but a series of intricate, interconnected experiences. The sooner you grasp that, the present is all there is, the sooner you can step off the treadmill of worry and start living fully, freely, and intentionally. Ask yourself, am I living for the next moment, or am I fully present in this one? The answer to that question will determine whether you experience life as a prison of time or as a river of infinite possibility. Time is not your enemy, it's your partner, waiting for you to awaken and dance with it. The moment you do, life becomes effortless, vibrant, and profoundly alive. Life is a series of contrasts. Light and dark, joy and sorrow, success and failure, love and loss, these are not enemies to be avoided or fought against. They are partners in a dance that defines existence itself. Yet most of us spend our lives resisting the uncomfortable parts, trying to cling to happiness and reject suffering, as if one could exist without the other. This resistance creates tension, frustration, and a sense that life is inherently unfair. But the truth is far simpler and far more profound. Opposites are inseparable. Think about it. Could you recognize happiness if you had never known sadness? Could you understand peace without experiencing chaos? Could love exist if you never faced the fear of loss? The very concept of one relies on the existence of the other. When we stop resisting the dark parts of life and instead embrace them as part of a greater whole, a transformation occurs. Pain becomes a teacher, failure becomes a guide, and challenges become stepping stones rather than obstacles. Many people spend decades running from discomfort, thinking that life should be smooth, predictable, and easy. But life is inherently dynamic, constantly in motion, and filled with contrast. This is not a flaw, it is its beauty. The universe itself is built on balance, day and night, winter and summer, growth and decay. When you align yourself with this rhythm instead of resisting it, you move from frustration to flow. You begin to see that life is not a problem to solve, but a dance to join. Consider your own experiences. When you face difficulty, haven't those moments eventually revealed hidden strengths, unexpected clarity, or new opportunities? Pain and challenge are not punishments. They are essential movements in the dance of opposites. They highlight what you value, sharpen your awareness, and awaken your potential. Without contrast, life would be flat, meaningless, and devoid of depth. The richness of your existence comes precisely from the interplay of opposites. This realization changes how you approach life. You no longer cling to pleasure or avoid pain. You no longer see loss as failure or gain as the only measure of success. Instead, you see each moment as a note in a larger symphony. You learn to move gracefully through hardship, to celebrate joy without fear, and to embrace uncertainty as part of the rhythm. You begin to understand that every experience, whether labeled good or bad, is essential for growth, awareness, and the evolution of your consciousness. Ask yourself today, what opposites am I resisting in my life, and how might embracing them bring freedom? The answer is not theoretical, light is lived. It is felt in the way you respond to challenges, in the way you allow joy to exist alongside sorrow, and in the way you step fully into the flow of life. When you accept the dance of opposites, fear loses its grip. The world no longer feels rigid or threatening. You discover that life is not a battle, but a fluid, ever-changing dance. And the moment you step onto that dance floor, moving with the rhythm rather than against it, you experience the freedom vibrancy, and depth that most spend a lifetime searching for. One of the greatest illusions we carry is the idea of a fixed, separate self. From the moment we are born, we are conditioned to believe that we are isolated individuals, separate from the world around us, responsible for protecting and maintaining this fragile identity. We cling to labels, roles, and stories about who we are: the professional, the parent, the provider, the thinker, the achiever. But the more tightly we cling, the heavier life becomes. The self, as we understand it, is often the source of our suffering, limitation, and fear. What does it mean to let go of the self? It doesn't mean abandoning responsibility or giving up on ambition. It means recognizing that the rigid identity you cling to is only a constructed set of habits, memories, and beliefs that you have mistakenly taken for truth. The I that judges, worries, and resists is not the entirety of who you are. When you loosen your grip on this self-image, life becomes less about defending and more about experiencing. Consider how much of your daily energy is spent protecting your image. How often do you hesitate, overthink, or hold back because of fear? Fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of not being enough. These fears are born from attachment to the self. And yet, paradoxically, when you release this attachment, you gain a freedom that the self could never offer. You stop being a prisoner of your own mind and start participating fully in life as it unfolds. There is a quiet joy that emerges when you stop identifying with every thought and emotion. You realize that you are not your anger, your guilt, or your past mistakes. You are the awareness observing them. You are not limited by your career, your relationships, or your social roles. You are the consciousness that experiences them. And when this awareness expands, you begin to understand your connection to everything around you, to nature, to other people, to the universe itself. Letting go of the self is also about surrendering control. The self wants to plan, dictate, and manipulate life, but the world is infinitely complex, unpredictable, and alive. By loosening the grip of the ego, you begin to move with life instead of against it. You learn that true power comes not from controlling circumstances, but from mastering your inner state, your perception, your attention, your response. Ask yourself today, what parts of my identity am I holding on to that no longer serve me? What freedom might I find if I let them go? The answers will not come from thinking, they come from being. By observing without judgment, by allowing without attachment, by flowing instead of resisting, you begin to experience the vastness of life beyond the self. When you let go, the world stops feeling like a threat and starts feeling like a playground. Creativity, compassion, and insight emerge naturally. You discover that life is not about defending a fragile identity, but about participating in a living, breathing universe. The moment you release the self, even just a little, the weight of fear, doubt, and limitation begins to lift. And you step into a freedom that has always been there, waiting for you to recognize it. Life has a way of reminding us that certainty is a myth. No matter how carefully we plan, how meticulously we prepare, or how clearly we imagine the future, there will always be moments of unpredictability, moments where everything we thought we knew is appended. Most of us resist this, craving stability, control, and a sense of security. But what if I told you that uncertainty is not something to fear, but the very engine of growth, discovery, and possibility? We fear the unknown because it threatens the illusion of safety. We want guarantees, instructions, and blueprints that promise success and happiness. And yet, life refuses to conform to our expectations. The truth is, the unknown is where life truly exists. It is in the space between what you know and what you cannot yet see that creativity sparks, insight awakens, and transformation begins. If you cling to certainty, you cut yourself off from the very experiences that make life vibrant and meaningful. Think about the most transformative moments of your life. Were they carefully planned, or did they arise from the unexpected, the surprising, the seemingly chaotic? The reality is that uncertainty carries gifts, opportunities, lessons, and growth that cannot exist in the predictable or the familiar. By resisting uncertainty, we resist life itself. By embracing it, we align ourselves with the flow of existence where every twist, turn, and detour has meaning, even if it's not immediately visible. Embracing uncertainty doesn't mean abandoning responsibility or acting recklessly. It means approaching life with openness and curiosity, willing to explore without knowing every outcome. It means trusting your capacity to respond, adapt, and thrive, even when the path is unclear. It is the difference between living in fear and living fully. The moment you stop needing life to be predictable, a weight lifts. Anxiety diminishes. You start noticing possibilities that were invisible when your mind was rigid and controlling. Consider the paradox. By surrendering the need to know, you gain power. When you accept that life is uncertain, you stop struggling against it. Instead, you begin to move with it, responding to challenges creatively, making decisions from a place of clarity rather than fear, and discovering opportunities that rigid planning could never reveal. The unknown is not a void, is a space of infinite potential, waiting for you to step into it. Ask yourself today, what uncertainties am I resisting, and what might I discover if I stopped fighting them? The answers lie not in controlling life, but in participating fully in it, moment by moment. Life is alive, dynamic, and ever-changing. The more you resist, the more you suffer. The more you embrace uncertainty, the more you thrive. When you choose to embrace uncertainty, fear loses its power. You stop trying to predict every outcome and start experiencing life as it is unfolding, unpredictable, and beautiful. The world opens, possibilities multiply, and every step becomes an adventure rather than a burden. The moment you step into uncertainty, you step into freedom, creativity, and a depth of experience that certainty could never provide. We are taught from an early age to approach life as a problem to solve. School, work, and society reinforce the idea that there is a right way to live, a correct formula for success, and a step-by-step path to happiness. We spend decades chasing answers, trying to figure it all out, and yet life continually reminds us that it cannot be solved like a math equation. The secret: life is not a problem, it is an experiment. Think about it. An experiment is not about getting it perfect on the first try. It is about trying, observing, learning, and adjusting. It is a process, a series of explorations designed to expand understanding. Life functions the same way. Every experience, every choice, every mistake is an experiment and opportunity to learn, grow, and refine the way you engage with the world. The moment you shift your perspective from "I must solve life" to "I am experimenting with life," pressure dissolves and curiosity awakens. Most adults spend years fearing failure. But failure is only failure if you see life as a rigid test. In reality, failure is data, feedback, a chance to refine your approach. Every setback, disappointment, and challenge is part of the experimental process. The scientist does not lament failed trials. They study them, understand them, and use the insight to move forward. You can do the same. Life rewards those who approach it with openness, curiosity, and a willingness to explore, rather than those who cling to rigid expectations and the illusion of certainty. Consider how many times you have been afraid to take a risk because the outcome was unknown. What if the outcome was irrelevant in the grand scheme? What if the value lies not in success or failure, but in the act of engagement itself, to courage to step into the experiment? When you embrace this mindset, you start to see every relationship, career move, and personal decision as an opportunity to learn, adapt, and evolve. The journey itself becomes richer, more meaningful, and deeply alive. Living as an experiment also frees you from comparison. You stop measuring your life against a checklist of societal standards or other people's achievements. There is no perfect outcome because life is not a test. To pass it is a laboratory of experience. Your experiments are uniquely yours. Guided by your curiosity, creativity, and willingness to engage fully. Every choice is a hypothesis, every action a test, and every moment a data point in the ongoing evolution of your consciousness. Ask yourself today, am I living as if life must be solved, or am I willing to treat it as an experiment? The shift in perspective changes everything. You become more playful, more courageous, more engaged, and far less stressed. Life stops feeling like a rigid puzzle and begins to feel like an unfolding adventure. When you embrace life as an experiment, you step out of fear and into curiosity. You stop resisting outcomes and start observing patterns, possibilities, and insights. You recognize that mistakes are lessons, challenges are opportunities, and every moment contains information waiting to guide you. In this mindset, freedom, creativity, and joy are not distant goals. They are the experience of living fully, right now. In every experiment you dare to undertake. In the chaos of modern life, we are constantly bombarded mails, notifications, deadlines, news, and endless noise. Our minds rarely get a moment of respite. And yet, the deepest truths, the most profound insights, and the clarity we seek cannot be found in noise or distraction. They emerge in silence, in stillness, in the quiet moments when we stop running and simply listen. Most people avoid stillness because it can be uncomfortable. Without distraction, without constant activity, we are forced to face ourselves, our fears, our desires, our unresolved thoughts. But it is precisely in this space, free from external input, that the mind and soul can realign. In stillness, patterns become visible, emotions are understood, and decisions arise with clarity rather than panic or habit. The answers you've been seeking are not out there in books, plans, or external validation. They are inside, waiting for you to pause and notice. Think of it like a lake. When the surface is stirred by wind, waves, and noise, you cannot see the reflection beneath. But when the water is calm and still, the reflection becomes clear. Silence and stillness allow the turbulence of the mind to settle, revealing not only clarity, but also a deep sense of peace and connection. The world does not stop moving when you pause. Rather, you begin to see it more clearly and engage with it more meaningfully. Stillness is not idleness. It is an active engagement with awareness. Meditation, quiet walks, mindful breathing, or simply sitting in contemplation are tools to access this inner clarity. It is here, in these quiet moments, that intuition awakens. You may find solutions to problems that seemed impossible, inspiration for actions you hadn't imagined, or a sense of alignment that makes even challenges feel manageable. Life begins to flow more effortlessly when you cultivate this space within yourself. Many of us fear silence because it exposes the gaps in our understanding, the unresolved conflicts, and the illusions we carry. But these gaps are not flaws. They are opportunities. By facing them, by sitting with them, you allow insight and growth to occur naturally. In stillness, life communicates in a way that the noise of activity cannot convey. The answers you seek are not in the hustle. They are in the pause. Ask yourself today, when was the last time I truly stopped, listened, and allowed life to speak to me? The power of silence is immediate and transformative. It reconnects you with your inner guidance, your creativity, and your true priorities. It reminds you that not all solutions come from doing more, some come from observing more, understanding more, and being present. When you embrace silence and stillness, the world shifts. Anxiety diminishes, clarity emerges, and you begin to act from a place of wisdom rather than reaction. Life is no longer a relentless race or a puzzle to solve. It becomes a dialogue between you and existence. And in that dialogue, you find the answers you've been searching for, all along, quiet, profound, and deeply aligned with who you truly are.